All right, well, it got quiet, so we'll start 15 seconds early. What up, everybody? I'm Kenny Eliason. Look me up on LinkedIn. That's where I hang out the most. LinkedIn, X are two favorites, but I was asked by Tim to present on AI for startups here. I got a startup in town. I'll tell you about it at the end. But I use AI for so many different things. So I broke it down into 3 different components, and we'll go over those today. But I just wanted to back up and talk just for half a second about what I think about technology in general, and now AI has that piles on top. I've been a tech fan for a long, long time, right? Like a lot of us have. Grew up with technology. Remember getting my first computer in 1998 and AOL and all those fun things that we did hacking around the internet. I became a developer-ish along the way, probably close to 2010, started building websites, ran a marketing and development agency for a long time here in town, and then recently just changed over to this new startup. But one of my favorite things about technology is that it is a human augmentation. My favorite superhero, like maybe some of you, is Iron Man. And why is it Iron Man? Because he's just a normal guy, and he uses technology to offset all of his normal abilities, and he becomes a superhero because of it, right? So this is me before AI. So this is me, you know, nerdy little kid, barely making it, and then this is me after AI, right? So it really does turn us into superheroes, right? Like technology in general does that, but AI really just sets it over the top. Like when I've been using AI in my startup, I'm continuously impressed by the stuff that I can get done faster, better, quicker, all the things using AI. Along with all the technology, obviously. So I broke it down into 3 things. And I'm going to kind of jump around. I've done meetups for like 10 years. I ran an SEO and a marketing meetup. So I did that for a long time. Very engaging, like please comment, add feedback, teach us something that you learned about something that I'm doing here. Hopefully I can get better, and hopefully you guys can take at least something home to learn from it. But I broke it down into 3 different parts. So how I use AI in my startup, I use it with my development team all the time. Not just developing, but with my development team. I use it for sales, and have some interesting ways that I've used it for sales. And then recently we raised $500,000 for our startup, and I used AI big time to help me navigate the fundraising landscape. So, and then we'll talk about my startup at the end. That's just a side note. So, really just to start. Okay, so again, like I said, I'm going to jump around. I'm going to leave the slides, and I'll show you a few different things that we're doing. But with development, so my process for our app as the CEO, you're kind of all over the place all the time. And so I have a running log, I call it my backlog, of thoughts and ideas that I stick in the development queue that nobody's supposed to touch. It's just my like catch-all for all my ideas with my for my startup. And that list just grows all the time. I'm constantly adding to it. The lists get longer and longer. So actually, before I even dig into this, I want to do a quick little poll to see where everybody's at. So if you're a business person, or if you're a developer, or if you're just a fan of AI and ChatGPT. Okay, so business people, okay, pretty good. Developers, a lot of developers, and then just ChatGPT enthusiasts. Wow, it's about 3-3-3. That's about as evenly divided as it can be. Okay, so I'll talk about all 3 different components. So with the development team, I have that queue going, and I use ChatGPT. There's little I write nowadays that doesn't have ChatGPT's help on it. And so I'll take my ideas, and then what I've done is I've created a template also using AI for the task that I want my development team to do. Let's just jump around and I'll show you what's on. No, not Notion Calendar. That's a new thing. Oh. Pull it up here. And I got to reconnect to the internet here. There we go. You guys may use Linear for your task management. We love it around our place. And now I can't get on the internet. Come on. It was on the internet, and now it's off the internet. The one weakness of all technology. All right. Let's see, where's my screen? All right, so here's my task template, okay? So I use this, delete all this stuff here. So I take my task, the process is take my little note that says create a new widget for X. I drop, first thing before I even use the template, I go into ChatGPT and I say, hey, I need to flesh this idea out. Here's what I'm thinking. I'll type in my description of what I wanted to actually do at the end of the project. Maybe I'll even upload a screenshot of something that I've done because we can do that now. So it gets a full picture of what I'm trying to get out of this idea for my development team. I then take this template, I copy paste it, drop it right into my ChatGPT and say, okay, now turn this into a task for my development team. It takes this and breaks it all down into different pieces so that when I'm done, I come over, oh, I need to mirror my screen. Hang on, can't find my mouse. There it is. Let's mirror here. Mirror. There we go, same screen. Then I come in here and to my linear, and I move it from the backlog. This is all my random ideas into a to-do, and you can see what it becomes fleshed out. It has a lot more context. It is amazing at building this out. Before this, my team would get like my sporadic ideas that wouldn't actually make much sense. It would be missing things. This helps me actually, so when I read through it, I'm actually saying, oh, I missed something here, it doesn't have enough knowledge. Resources down here at the bottom are documentation. It helps figure out what I need to actually include so that they can complete the task. And now the developers have a full picture of what I want out of that task, and they can't complain. And it's actually increased greatly the output of being something actually that I want. Before, there's always this disconnect. Being a developer, I've been there, of what the person who's asking for something wants and what you actually deliver, and trying to make sure that that's the same. You're really trying, as a developer, I know you want to deliver what the person wants, but no matter how hard we try to get inside their head, it's still a really hard task to do. This has really cut down. The development team has really delivered a lot more accurate stuff after I started using ChatGPT in that way.
Are you using a custom GPT on that?
No.
They wander a lot.
I've built a couple. What's that?
I find that if I try to use ChatGPT for a task like this,
Yeah.
it can wander an awful lot, and I have to double check it more than it's worth sometimes, unless I tune it. I'm not sure if that's a shared experience.
No, so my experience there is when I have a really long-running thread for a long time, then it starts to wander worse. So I often start a new thread when I'm doing a new task. It's just, here's what I'm putting in, and I need this directly back out, and then I'll delete the thread after I'm done with it because of the wandering. Usually my threads start to get crazy once I put a ton of things.
With review the above and
Which, I haven't done that. I should probably do that. But my threads get so long, and that's where I feel like once they get so long, then I feel like I start losing control, and it starts not giving me as good results anymore. You just can't understand.
One thing you can do to get around that is either make your own GPT.
Yeah.
You can drop in documents, establish context. So it's like a sort of review what I just told you on steroids.
I should do that. Yeah.
How did you, so
Yeah.
right, you have this template that
Yeah.
you say, hey, I'm going to create a new task, I'm a developer working on a screen or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's very, you're saying, I'm going to put in kind of the words, or right? Because the goal is, right, I have a task. So you're going to type that in.
Let me do it like this. I'll show you this.
And that's, you submit the whole thing once you kind of have what you're looking for.
Let's do a real one here. So what I'll do is in linear here, I've got my backlog of ideas. So let's find one that I haven't really fleshed out. Okay, so turn off, I don't even know, try turning off autocomplete on form fields. So I'll take this, I'll go into my ChatGPT, I'll get a fresh slate here. I'll say, I'm working on a task for my development team. And I'll throw in the title. Here's my basic idea. And if I've already fleshed it out a little bit, which I have on this one, I'll take this and I'll drop it in here. I say, is there anything I need to consider before asking my team to complete this task? It'll output some stuff for me. While it's doing that, I'll go grab this, copy that. I'll make a feature, blah, blah, blah. We're gonna act like I actually go back and forth a few times with it after it knows exactly what I want. Then I say, okay, cool. Make it into a task for the team following this template. Once it finally finishes, come on. I could stop it, I know, but there we go. So then I drop that in there.
Fantastic.
Disable autocomplete sensitive fields. And now it's going to give me this whole thing. I'll show you what I do after that. I mean, it really breaks it down so nicely.
So if you have your own, like, I have different maybe items I want, I
Right.
create that template I want.
Which I created that template with ChatGPT too. I said, here's the stuff I want. It's for my development team, so it already took that into account.
Yeah.
And then it output the template. So then I just take that. I would review it more than this. I come back here, copy that, go back into my notes or my linear, override it, do a little review, do some formatting so that they can read it well, and then it's done. Move it to the to-dos. So really helps. Really helps. Yeah.
Do you use any custom, like in the settings for ChatGPT?
I have
Do you use any custom prompts in there?
Yeah, I do have like my basic company info in here. So over here, we just signed up because the organizations came out, so I just got our team on that. Custom instructions. So I have some custom instructions about what we do and who we are, so that it knows like our framework, what technology stacks we're using, a little bit about our app, our company, so that it knows when it starts a new thing where to get a foundation from. It's not enough though. It's only 1,500 characters, so it's not enough for what I want. Usually, so one more on that. So what I usually do, I have here this starter text that I'll drop in, which is everything about my company. So I'll just copy this and say, hey, here's everything you need to know. And with GPT-4, I can put a ton in there with all the limits that it has. So that's what I do for developers. Questions about that?
Those limits a lot too. They've been saying
Yeah,
about
GPT-4
that,
keeps going up.
all sorts of shit in there. It's like, how do you actually do that now?
And sometimes you'll accidentally get on 3.5 and you'll dump something in. It's like, it doesn't take it. It's like, holy cow, like 4 is a big jump. Yeah.
Just to clarify, is this 4.0 team or enterprise version?
What was that?
Is this 4.0 team or enterprise?
4.0 team on
4.0 or team or enterprise?
on ChatGPT?
Yeah.
This is just ChatGPT 4. I'm paying the $20 a month like everybody can pay. So nothing special above the regular. They just came out with the organizations, which is still that same thing.
Yeah,
But now I can add my teammates to
Enterprise
it.
came out, and then team, which is their less than 150 people, came out like in the last 2 years.
Yeah. But it's just ChatGPT 4 at the end of the day. So, any other questions on that?
Comparing to, because I've just been tinkering around with the free version, what is the difference?
Yeah, it's a big jump. It's pretty incredible. 3.5 is great for a million reasons.
Yeah.
4 is a game changer. The context awareness, I mean, the output that it does, the understanding feedback.
It'll pay for itself in a day.
It does, man. It's a big jump. It's a big jump. 3.5 is great.
Magnitude improvement.
Order of magnitude. Like it's slower. That's the main downside. I mean, a little bit slower. GPT 3.5 is like, it'll dump out the whole thing in like a millisecond. 3.5, you saw it. It like types it as you're going there. But the context and everything about it's just
Well, the other big difference.
exponentially better.
The paid version gives you the opportunity to create your own GPTs.
Yeah. And it has all the Explorate GPTs. So I do have a GPT that I built.
GPTs are their own friggin' world, to be honest. Like, that's been the biggest change for me.
And now that you say that, I should have created this into a GPT, and maybe I will now. So I've got them on my personal one. So we built this one here. This is our startup, so people can talk to our startup via the API or via the GPTs here. So anyway, but yeah, there's some cool stuff you can do
The
there.
reason you would want to use like 3.5 though, if you're hitting the API directly, it's so much cheaper.
Way
And
cheaper.
you can fine tune GPT 3.5 for like specific tasks, so it's not going to be as creative. It won't like solve novel problems, but if you have a specific problem and it's like a really discrete task that you do over and over again, you can like downgrade to 3.5 for a lot of those things.
Yeah.
And then as you're spending lots of money on GPT-4, then you can be like, oh, this is happening again and again. Let's like drop my cost by 10x.
Yeah.
Making a fine tune.
It's way cheaper.
Okay.
Yep.
So,
Yep. It's good. Okay. Any other questions on that? Where did my thing go? Developers. Obviously, we also use it coding too. For you developers, Copilot, everybody using Copilot? Copilot's incredible. And it gets better. It's getting better. Yeah.
So with GPT-4 that comes with Dolly, but it's a $20 subscription.
Yeah.
People don't know this, but Copilot is free. You can still have access to Dolly. And so if you're in a financial pinch and still want to use the software,
There you go.
check out CoSign for
Cool.
that. Sorry,
Copilot.
Copilot.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, if you're a programmer, if you don't know and you're a programmer, then you definitely need to know. If you're using VS Code, then you can turn on the integration with VS Code that connects you to the Copilot software, which is from Microsoft. Anyway, it'll autocomplete your stuff for you, like insanely. Like it's really, really cool. You can start a line and it'll just write your code for you.
They actually list both Visual Code and Visual Studio Code. They now have Copilot chat as well.
Oh, yeah.
So they have Copilot and they have Copilot chat. So
Yep.
There's code completion. With Copilot chat, what you can do is in your code, you go like control sequence, like all slash thing. And you can ask a question right in the middle of your code, and it looks around that code and gives you an answer. It's pretty cool.
It's pretty incredible.
Same thing,
So one other thing, so with our team, we ended up getting in the internship program with UNLV, and so I have like 9 interns working with us. Yeah.
I was just gonna ask a quick question about Copilot. It's not aware of your entire code base, right? It's not currently open file.
Right. And it might be open files. It's just the one page you're on?
It doesn't look at your project.
Just the one page you're on. I think there's extensions that add them in, though. I think you can do, there's some VS Code third-party extensions that actually have it look at the whole project.
I know there are
Yeah.
projects like Codility that do that, but
Yeah.
I was just asking.
Yeah. One of my favorite things, because we're working with interns, interns are great for like a million reasons. I love them. And some of them should not be in school, and they should just have jobs, which has been really great. But from time to time, there is the very real need to review and fix a lot of their code. And so we'll just do something real time here. Let's see if we can make a fool of myself on some coding. For the devs out there, you guys using Warp yet? Because that's a cool terminal. Let's pull up. We'll pick a file here. So, I don't know. This is an update contact form. So I'll take this after they finish it. So let's say they actually worked on it for a while. Using some of the GPTs that are already built out there, I use this tech support advisor pretty regularly. This coding assistant's also pretty good. So I'll come in here and I'll say, my interns just wrote this code. Can you refactor it to run better? Drop in the whole code, because GPT-4 allows you to dump in a big old chunk of text. It'll read the code. Sometimes I'll send it multiple files. If I know there's components on different pages, I'll say this file is calling this component. Here's the 2 pieces. How can you refactor this? And it will output fixed code, faster code. So I've used this a bunch of times. Like one time we had a page, or on one of our pages on our website, this page right here actually, I'll show you. So on here, we had all these widgets, and we actually have a bunch more that are coming in another release. And I didn't really review the code as much as I should have before I pushed a couple of them up. And then just last week, I was reviewing one of the new widgets that's going to be on this page. And I was looking at it, and I realized that there was some logic in the widget that was also in one of the other widgets. And so the code was being essentially ran twice. And so I went into the code, I grabbed the main page file, this page here, I grabbed the 4 different widget files, I'll put them all into one ChatGPT prompt, and said, hey, I need to remove duplicates and I need to speed this up, pretty much is what I said. And it refactored all of the logic up into the main page component and passed it all down, so it was only one database query versus like 5 or 6 queries to the database, speeding up this dashboard tremendously. So using it to refactor code has been awesome. So I don't even know what this is, but I probably should implement it because it's fixed it, whatever it is. So data fetching, form field generation, it's a bit repetitive and can be streamlined, so it fixes the code. Error handling, make it more robust in error handling, separation of concerns. So I use it for intern code reviews and refactoring. And it's not perfect. Devs out there, you're going to for sure say that's not the best way to do something, and I see that from time to time, but there are lots of times where I can tweak it slightly and get it to work pretty well. Yeah.
Can it write unit tests for you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's really software.
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's incredible. It can do a lot of that stuff. So I think that's all I use it for dev. There's probably more. I mean, I'm using it all the time. Anybody else have any good tips they use it for development? Yeah.
I'll just tell you, one of the neat things about it is you can take it, so I do a lot with just traditional hosting. I don't use cloud or anything like that. I do build out my boxes.
Wow. You're a unicorn.
I've been doing this a while.
That's way too much work.
Well, but what I found is really neat. So we've got a project we've been working on where we do 98% of the project is simple, like if-else statements. And then we push it up to API. I can't wait for them to build out a custom box to work. The other thing is on your prompts. I wish someone would have told me earlier, but I'm here telling you all. If in all of your prompts, if you're doing coding, if you set the temperature, just literally say temperature 0.3. It's on a scale of 0 to 2. At 2, it's way more creative. So if you're writing your fantasy fan fiction, set it to 2. I want lots of, and never use 2 for coding. Or it will like go
Yeah, it does. Sometimes it gets creative. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say if you set the temperature to 0.3, the other tip that I
And you're literally saying temperature.
yeah, set temperature
Set temperature to 0.3% or just 0.3? 0.3, just like that.
Yeah, and then, so two of my go-tos are set the temperature, just be mindful of it.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I have one of the custom GPT set to tell me, to switch between those, and to tell me what temperature setting it's using on every output. So this way I know if it's in serious mode or
Yeah.
But the other thing is, it does exceptionally well if you explain the problem you're trying to solve and let it come up with the solutions. So I use a lot of different tech stacks. I've been programming since like 1999. So a lot of different environments, a lot of different languages, a lot of different whatever. And what's really neat about GPT is since it has all of that context of the different tools, I can say, I want to send a file like this. I'm concerned about these particular constraints. What are, and I ask it to tell me 3 to 5 ways to do something. Because one of them is really dumb. Like I told them one time, I said, I've got a list of 5 scores, give me recommendations on the 3 worst. And it gave me recommendations on the 2 worst and on the best, and said, even though the best is the best, you can do better. I was like, no, that was clear. So anyway, I talk to voices in my head that are inspired by GPT.
Cool. Yeah.
I think to second that, I agree. If you tell it the problem, you have a better chance of getting an accurate answer, is what I'll say, because you might have a way of doing it in your head that is probably either pieced together from 10 different sources, and GPT can be that one source, But also, I think to feed in actual library documentation or any documentation, like from a website, you can feed links into it. So I've fed in like, hey, I need to use this library. Here's the library source link. I need to do this. Can you show me how, an example?
Yeah.
And it's just printing out just a simple example, and it'll tell me, hey, this is the basics. You have to take it from here.
Yep.
But I think feeding in documentation so you can get as accurate as possible with how some of these APIs work, or some, just anything. A library can be confusing. It can have loopholes that you don't think about, or authentication that you don't think about, or something.
Yeah, it definitely does get better when you feed it links to like the docs that you're actually working on. It's a little more specific right here.
I actually have some code that I'd love feedback on if anybody thinks it would be useful, but it basically lets you spin up a custom GPT using the API and then deploy it to Heroku. And then it creates like a REST API for it and like a basic interface. And then the idea there is that you could have like different AIs that are calling other AIs that are more specialized. Because kind of to your point, the temperature level really affects it. If you have one that's supposed to generate some JSON to go into some other application, it needs to behave really differently than one that's going to like talk to a person. And so ultimately, I want to build like, you have the intake kind of AI that's conversational that then calls other AIs to serve different functions. So if anybody wants to mess around with that, like it's on GitHub and I can share a link because I'd love feedback about features that we use before.
Cool.
This question, have you used semantic kernel from Microsoft?
Okay.
Microsoft, yeah.
I just wanted to mention, as far as code generation goes, I've had the best success for original code. If I tell it to write tests and give it the spec for the test first, you tell it the language and what testing framework you want to use. If you try to use, if you let it generate code first and then test later, it generally tests the implementation. If you tell it to create the tests first, right, where you give it the behavior, and then you could actually tell it to write the code to pass the test.
So start with mocks.
Right? So it will do what it has to do, or you can write the code yourself to pass the test. That's, for me, that's been the best.
Oh, that's cool.
Generally speaking, I'll write the code myself when I get stuck on something.
Right.
You don't want to do it in language or,
Right.
and then I'll let it fill it in as language.
Interesting.
Also, like you tell it compile, or was it compile, deploy the code. Tell it you want it to actually work. You can use implied, but it doesn't.
And if you specify production versus development.
Okay. Production versus development level code. Did you have something?
Yeah, so I do a lot of smart contract work, and the tooling is not as mature as it is for other ecosystems and languages. So one of the things that I use GPT for a lot is basically all the CI/CD stuff and like making my development experience more efficient. So I use like make files and all sorts of stuff.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
And it's been really helpful at like just speeding up everything.
That's cool.
Helping us
That's
work
cool.
together as a team.
Yeah, we talk about 10x coders. This is the 100x coders. This is totally different, man. This is great. You can use this. Yeah.
One other thing that was cool with the Assistance API, if you mess around with that, you're able to add functions that will call other web services.
Oh.
And I found that, like, I was basically like tuning an assistant to generate functions when you feed it documentation. And so that's actually kind of cool. That's something to play around with.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
you have some web services want to give it access to, just like feed it the docs and say like, give me some node script that would run with this, and then test it, see if it works. And then it has access to that, and it can go and get information.
That's dope. That's cool. All right. Yeah.
Has anybody gone so far as to just fully integrate AI into like a continuous integration workflow? And literally just let the thing?
Not until I can self-host it.
Say again?
Not until I can self-host it.
Have you tried like Mistral or any like the local LLMs?
Yes, they're good at breaking your computer if you're not careful. I love that. I'm used to putting it on operating systems. Like my first Windows was Windows 1.1.1. So like I have like 6 computers on my bench, and I tried to install GPT NeoX and all sorts of other stuff. And it's just fun tech to play with. Like if you're under the age of 30, you can't possibly understand how far humans have come in the last time.
Yeah.
It's incomprehensible.
It's crazy. Yeah, before we move
To
on.
your point of integrating AI into CI/CD, I think that might actually be a problem because CI/CD wants reproducible builds.
Right.
And I think AI would generate a sort of random element to it where you may not get.
You can do reproducible
Well, that's what I mean.
responses now with you like fix the seed that's being used, so then it'll like reproduce the same
And in
response.
the assistants, not in the ChatGPT.
Yes.
And incidentally, that's why for me, I'm actually considering that workflow to include a check-in into a user development branch. I'm talking about basically considering the AIs to be developer seats and expecting them to work through similar workflows.
I think you should not do it.
It's when the robots take over.
I think it's going to be a shit fest, but I want to watch this. But it's so bad.
In the industry, that's actually important. I can burn down as many buildings as I want, as long as I say why they burned down.
Right.
Virtual buildings.
Well, you know what I mean? Like,
If we let these guys talk too much, they're gonna get really smart over here, and I'm not gonna understand anything anymore.
smart, we make complex mistakes.
I'm gonna dumb it down back and go into some sales stuff that I've done here for a little bit. So with being a startup, we have to find customers, and it is not fun. But AI has helped me quite a bit. So a couple different contexts. So we had a conference back in May of last year. So this is early days ChatGPT, and I was very excited to be using it. If you guys have ever done conferences, sometimes, not always, they'll give you a list of people that are going to be attending the conference, right? So beforehand, I got this list of people that were going to be at this conference. So that was this Lanier conference down in Texas. So I got all this information of all these people. Actually, it only went over to website here. So I used a few different tools. First thing I did was I used hunter.io, which is not an AI tool, but I used it to grab everybody's email addresses. So Hunter came in, and they have an extension inside of Google Sheets called Hunter for Sheets. I opened it up. I said, I need to find this person's email address. You plug in a couple things, and it finds everybody that has an email address, okay? So that was step one. Step two is where, this is still more like scraping stuff. I took Linked Helper. If you guys are familiar with Linked Helper, it is a tool to scrape LinkedIn profiles. Linked Helper. Took Linked Helper here and spun this up and used the emails and the contact information to grab everybody's bios and descriptions off of LinkedIn. Okay, so that was step two, which gave me this nice output of all of their stuff, their descriptions, all through here, their titles, what profession they were in, their industries. And then inside of this one, I used the extension GPT for Sheets, which you can see it here. Eventually, GPT for Sheets right here. You have to get an API key out of ChatGPT. You plug it into the GPT for Sheets. And the prompt I gave it was to write an email based off of looks like it's updated, based off of my company's description related to this person and the things that they're interested in. Write them a custom email message to send them before the conference to invite them to come see the booth. So this is the one I came up with. Let's wrap this so we can make it readable.
This tech ruins LinkedIn. I'm generally a technologist, but I get flooded with that shit. I hate it.
Yeah. Welcome to sales. This is the sales part. For the developers, I hate it as a human too. But this is what we do. Yeah.
First one you mentioned?
Hunter.io. Yeah. Yep. And that has an API key and a whole setup. You can pull that into ChatGPT 2, into Sheets, and it'll do it inside of
But
Sheets.
you had to have people's email address. I'd like to update that.
Which I used from Hunter. Well, because I'm going to email them, so yeah, I had to have them in order.
Like you could not lift them from.
LinkedIn required that? No, it doesn't require it. It gets more accurate when you have an email address, but it does not require it. So Linked Helper goes and gets their descriptions based off of the email and the name, and even the location, I think, was one of the parameters. But then it generates these. So I hope you're doing well. Thought I'd reach out to let you know my company's showcasing our app at Record for the next couple of days. Like you can see, this one's different. Let's wrap this one here. So you can tell you look at them, they're different, but every single person got a different email to their inbox that was specified to that person. So made it a little unique in that way. So it wasn't just a cookie cutter thing. No, hi, insert name here. Oh, well, and then one more, sorry. One extra step was I used the extension mail merge with attachments, which will actually send the emails from here into and email people. So it did that, and you get the results of, where is it at? So many sheets. Sheets 11 here. One of them has the output of what happened. So anyway.
So did you review it? Did you review what it said before you sent it out?
Well, there's too many to review all of them, but I did spot check. I spot checked many of them, and they were on point. They were plenty good for an email that most people aren't going to read anyway. And I'm aware of that. But it was better than I could have done writing every one of those emails for the 1,000 people that were at the conference. So we had a lot of people. So we were pretty unique. Backing up a little bit, actually, especially in sales, I should have started off. Sales is a human game, and I know that, and it was all about connecting with people. And so my descriptions were based around what I was going to be doing at the conference, and I wanted them to, if they read it, just remember me when they passed by my booth. So we actually rented a popcorn machine. We were the only person to do that. It was probably against the rules, and it smelled up the whole place. It's a good tip if you're doing conferences. It's friggin' phenomenal. Everybody loves popcorn, right? I actually don't, but I had a popcorn machine, so I mentioned it in the email so that when they walked by and oh, you're the popcorn machine guy. Cool, what's up? I'm Kenny, and then we had a conversation. So it worked pretty good in that way, yeah.
So, you have this under the sales heading, right?
Yeah.
Is the primary goal of this to avoid spam filters?
Oh yeah, for sure. It helps with that, exactly. But the problem is, it's not. Another big factor of the spam filters is how fast you send emails, which this sends out a bunch of emails pretty quickly. So there is some strategy to only send 20 at a time over the next day, whatever, but it depends on how fast you send them to. Yeah.
How long did this take?
This was a day's project, probably. The scraper actually takes the longest time. It runs an actual virtual machine, and it actually scrapes them all from the web. It actually takes a minute for it to go through all the pages because LinkedIn will block you. So you can actually see it. You can see it in real time. It just kind of navigates through LinkedIn, grabbing all the stuff. And so that takes the longest time.
I have a question about the American LinkedIn database if you want to avoid having to do that.
Yeah. But then it's outdated.
It's 9 months old.
Yesterday's is outdated. Yeah.
It'll actually run all that on your local machine. So
They have their own virtual machines. They host their virtual machines. You pay LinkedIn Helper, and they run them. You can watch it in real time too. It's just navigating around LinkedIn. So that's my sales hack.
How long was your email average?
That was one of the things I specified. And in the GPT for Docs here, you can actually specify your outputs. So I did it, I think, no longer than 300 letters or something like this. This is all new. They've definitely upgraded. Settings, GPT-4, creativity. There's your temperature meter right there. That was there. How many tokens you wanted to use. Got a bunch of different settings in there. And one of them was length. And so I stuck around like 300. I knew people weren't going to read it. And I knew especially they weren't going to read a long email. So I tried to keep it short-ish.
Did you change the subject title like A/B analytics?
Yeah. So the subject was wrapped into this whole thing too, so it was a different subject line for everybody.
Okay, awesome.
Yep. A more recent conference. Yeah, sorry.
Did you do any testing metrics or how to go to the conference? Like, hey, did you see my email? Or hey, I really liked the way you noticed that I was a snowboarder.
So that first conference, that was my first time doing it. The results are sparse. We ended up with 40 leads, closed a handful of clients, so it was good. But I don't know the direct metrics. On a more recent conference down in San Diego, I had a different approach. I actually made a bunch of So my app is for personal injury attorneys, which is there any PI guys in here? We all hate PI guys. I know. I actually went to law school for a year, ended up getting out, whole story. But I know I worked in a law firm for like 8 years, ended up loving it. It was the last thing I thought I'd be doing. And so I built an app that helps personal injury attorneys. We'll talk about it again. So it was a personal injury attorney conference, and my deal there, I didn't have a popcorn machine. I had T-shirts that made fun of all the attorneys. So I had one for Knockvy that was a DJ table. I had one for Glenn Lerner, all the Billboard guys. I had a spoof T-shirt for them. And so my table was pretty unique because it was all Vegas guys at this conference. And so that was what I sent them in advance. I said, come see the T-shirts that make fun of your friends. And so that one ended up attracting a ton of people because they all wanted to come see the T-shirts. And so everybody says, oh, I saw your email. And what was better at that conference, on day 2, I actually generated a second email to the people because I was tracking who had actually seen and who I hadn't seen. I mean, now we're getting way deep into the sales part of this. But I sent a second email to anybody I hadn't seen yet. And I said, hey, you haven't stopped by my booth yet. You're missing out on these cool shirts. Come check them out. And a lot of people would stop by and say, I got your email. What do you got? And they'd come over and see me. So here's some strategy there. But the emails being custom really helps. Yeah.
This may not be a productive question, but that idea with the T-shirts,
Yeah.
was that the result of augmented creativity, or did you come up with that?
I came up with it myself, actually. So I've always been a T-shirt fan. I've made hundreds of T-shirts by this point. And so that was one that I came up with to be a little different.
I have used GPT for stuff like that.
Yeah.
Actually, really fucking impressive.
Yeah.
Like if you're not feeling particularly creative, just say exactly what you want to do.
Yeah.
And turn the temperature way up.
Be creative.
It really works. I mean, you can say,
cool.
give me 100 ideas, like to get people's attention at a conference, and it'll do it. Right?
Yeah.
The more detail and context you give it, the better it is. People they try to use it for things that are very specific, but it works really well for things that are not actually.
It's cool. Very cool. One other use for sales is this cool app that some friends of mine out of Florida are making. That's not the website, or maybe it is, and it's down right now. Let's see, is that there actually? I thought that was it. That's not the right domain. Let's find it up here. Where is the link? Just backtrack. Of course. Backtrack, app. Rewind.
Another thing that's interesting about using it with sales is you can ask it about different personality types and how to target messaging for specific personality types, like Myers-Briggs and stuff. Like, it gives really nuance.
There it is. No? Yeah, this one. So these guys, they just rebranded. This is all different. I hope you guys are using the AI summaries and Zoom calls and everything else. Those have been phenomenal. Super helpful, the list you can make. This one, they are actually recording in the background. They're actually recording this whole meeting because that's how it works. It runs here in my browser. And so it records everything, not only on your screen, but also your microphone. And so they actually are demoing a phone version of this where it runs on your phone, and it listens, and with AI picks up the people. So if you're at a conference, you set it on the table, it's recording it all the time. As you talk about names and people, it actually uses AI to pick up on those, log them into a database for you so that you don't have to do the checking part of your sales to say who did I see or who didn't I see. It's automatically happening in the background. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. Save a lot of time. What's that?
Nothing creepy about it.
It's wild, right? Wild, right? The robots are listening. The robots are listening. So luckily in Nevada, we're a one-party state. So if I know I'm being recorded, that's all that matters.
Well, it's one thing except for phone calls.
Nope, still one party. Nevada's a one-party state.
For everything? I thought
Everything.
It was not for audio.
No, pretty sure it's for everything. Yeah. So yeah, but different states have different laws. Nevada's one that's.
Two-party because there was a court case on that.
Which one?
Exactly, yeah.
Phone calls, it has to be both sides because there was a court case ruling on that.
All right.
But part of the problem with it is that you don't necessarily know where the person is on the other end. So if they're out of state, then you just hop into federal territory.
Right.
And that's not something I think anybody really wants to get into.
What case is that?
Yeah, no, I did the same thing.
I think we're getting off track, but sure, whatever. Yeah. Somebody ChatGPT it. ChatGPT it. See which case it is. So that's my sales. Anybody else have any tips about sales? Anybody else have any tips about AI with sales?
You've been talking about lead generation. How's it been useful for you to kind of go through your actual activity and sort of analyze your performance?
For sales?
Yes.
It has been really helpful. So one of the things that we do is we obviously have analytics and all of our database stuff about who's signing up and how long they sign up for, or how long it takes them to sign up. And you can easily, we use HubSpot, which has a lot of new AI stuff coming into it, but I can export from HubSpot drop a CSV into ChatGPT, and all of a sudden it starts doing all of its analytics and says, here's how long, here's the metrics. I don't have to do any of the formulas. And if I do formulas, if I'm in, if I'm in Excel, if you haven't had it write you some formulas in Excel, it is incredibly helpful for really complex formulas, which I'm used to writing myself, but it makes it a lot faster. So yeah, we use it on all steps.
Is it like automating these metrics that you've already been using for years, or are you finding that it can give you new ways of looking at the data? Are you coming up with new sorts?
I do not have too many new ways. That's something I have not seen yet. It's mostly accelerating old ways right now that I've more tinkered with than anything. So hopefully it does new ways easier soon.
Just curious.
Is that Darcy? Hey.
I'm curious, like say a non-developer, what would you say would be the learning curve for something like this? Like, me looking at this,
Yeah.
I'm like, man, how long does it take? And I know you could, like, not an hour, but
Yeah.
something like a year or months
This sales part requires very little developer level knowledge. So it'd probably take you a week or so to figure it out. Once you get the hardest developer level stuff is getting an API key from the places, which with it's platform.openai.com. And if you go here, you got all this other stuff, you log in, you can get a key in no time. This is what he was talking about when you pay for access, though. This is where you actually end up having to pay a little bit. But after that, you're just in Google Sheets. And so it's formula writing, which does have its own level of learning, but it's not like developer stuff. Google Sheets, though, from then on out, just learning how the tools implement a week or two, maybe, I would assume. I mean, with basic knowledge. Anybody agree, disagree? A couple
One
weeks?
of the hardest part is finding out, Hunter.io, right? It's like knowing what services are out there to help you with that.
Right. Yep. And then you use ChatGPT to teach you how to use it.
Well, that's just it. Once you get to, you're like, okay, I want to do a spreadsheet and a LinkedIn message and a blah, 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 start a thread in GPT and say, I'm doing this, how do I do it? You get stuck, you ask it. It will walk you. We used to have to do, before Google, we had to read documentation that was even available. I've had to read documentation from something 2 versions before what I was working with and see if they still have the same settings and all sorts of other stuff. This makes it, I would say, this is going to accelerate the learning curve. So if you're a non-technical person that wants to go technical, this levels that playing field in a lot of ways, and it lets act like developers go 10, 100x, 1000x where they work.
For example, along those lines, you would so say you want to use the Hunter.io, and to your earlier point, Hunter.io docs. So you'd come in here, and it probably already has it already, but now this is a reference point, so I don't know, I'll just grab one. You grab that link, you go into ChatGPT, start a new thread, and maybe you use one of the GPTs that are in there already. There's so many, and there's more every day now. And you say, okay, I want to learn about this. My knowledge is very basic. I need a lot of help. And from here, it just will start breaking it down. And if you say, I don't understand, it'll break it down more. It'll keep going down until you understand, and then you can say, okay, now what's next? You can build right back up using it as a tool. I use this with my kids studying at home. Like my kid comes home and needs to study for a social studies exam, and it's like, okay, what's it about? So I dump in his study guide, and 2 seconds later we have a Python script, and 3 seconds after that we're running it in Python, and he's got a multiple choice quiz to figure out how to study for his test. You can do some crazy stuff. I used it to build a website that I already forgot what it is the other day for spelling tests. You can do so much. So yeah, this is how you do it. Just start basic, talk to it, and it'll teach you. Yeah.
So I had a question, about what I sent you, because when you create something, my understanding is with DALL-E, you own the copyrights to what you create, right?
Yeah.
So if you create something that they tell you it's not a copyright infringement, but yet you can clearly see that it is, that's what you suggest there, because for written words, it's a different story. It's more questionable, but
right.
If someone wants to create a logo or wants to create something with DALL-E,
Microsoft's problem.
You're Ollie, right? Is that what your name was? So you want to tell everybody what this was?
Yeah. So about a month ago, I created this, and you can see for yourself, right? So I asked to create a video game style image of Superman, and they are clearly telling me there's copyright infringement, but they can do something that's similar, and then I say, okay, And then they tell me, well, what do you want it to look like? And I just say blue outfit with a red cape, and you exactly have Superman that comes up with the S logo and everything. And then the second one, because
Got him.
YouTube, is the second one. I did the same thing with Mario Brothers, and so I technically own those pictures. So I don't know if anybody had similar experiences, if they want to.
So there's a lawsuit about this right now.
Yes, okay. That's what.
Mm-hmm.
But it's aimed
I wonder why.
Yeah. I think New York Times is going to win like hundreds of billions of dollars.
So what's the rundown on the lawsuit?
They're suing, New York Times is suing OpenAI because they learned that a ton of the training data for OpenAI was based off of all of the content written by the New York Times. And so they're saying they own rights to everything that's generated off of that content that was scraped from their servers.
Their argument isn't that great because their argument was based upon being able to suss out line by line exactly of New York Times articles.
Right.
But they really, really, really tried to convince OpenAI to spit out line by line, like, okay, then what's the next one? What's the next one?
Yeah.
What's the next one? And so
It's a crazy lawsuit.
they technically did.
It's complicated.
And OpenAI says they mostly fixed it and they're working on it. So you can say it's a moot point, one. And then two, anything can be used for inspiration. So I could say
There's no new art.
Like here's an example, and this lets me know the kind of nerd I am. Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address is like the same style as Pericles' funeral speech from 2000.
Oh, funny.
So
he copyrighted for you.
So you can always use something for
Yeah.
inspiration,
Yeah.
but then the case is, oh, what's the inspiration versus what's not? When it comes to copyright laws with images, you can say, oh, I made it, I think it's either 40% or 60% different. Well, what's the difference between 40% to 60%?
Yeah.
Because I can make an image black and white and then add little things to it, and is that 60%?
Yeah.
And good luck, because the fashion industry has been fighting that court case for the last 200 years.
Yeah.
So New York Times is not as good as some people think.
It's crazy.
It is one of those things where, yeah, the court needs to figure this out.
It's complicated, yeah, exactly.
I think the pictures is more questionable, and same thing with music. Like, what prevents me from like taking, Michael Jackson's Thriller and Madonna, whatever. And
We're in the wild west of copyright laws, for sure.
Actually, Ninth District Federal Court 4 months ago ruled against the standing ruling that nothing created through generative AI can be copyrighted. So that is the current meta. You can make whatever the fuck you want. You can make your Italian brother make it, no big deal. But because you can't copyright it, it doesn't matter.
What about a derivative?
My understanding is that with DALL-E, I own the copyright.
Well, no, but this is the thing. There's a part of this argument that doesn't make a lot of sense. Part of the argument here that isn't making sense, just from a logical perspective, is, okay, so you made something like it. We've already had the technology where you can copy and paste it and make an identical thing. And we already have law for how to treat that. This is just another way to not quite copy and paste it.
Photography and collage art were both started that way, right? Where people were trying to decide whether that was something you could copy.
Well, it's pretty clever court ruling because what it does is it makes it so corporations can't just use these things to generate infinite amounts of art. Humans have to generate every piece of art that becomes copyrighted material. And so as a result, it's a very clever balance.
Yeah, but that's only the circuit court, that only covers the geographic.
Who's the lawyer in the room? Is there a lawyer in the room? No? All right, we'll save this for the law meetup. Okay, let's finish up here. We're almost out of time. So here we go, fundraising. So here's what I did with fundraising. So this is, has anybody fundraised before? It sucks. It sucks. Successfully, it sucks, right? It's a ton of freaking work. So I'll run you through what I did. It kind of worked. We raised $500,000. So let's go back to a couple different places. So I started off with this. You guys have heard of Crunchbase. I started off with Crunchbase. My first hack was I signed up for the free trial, which gave me 2 weeks access to everything I'd ever need. And what did I do with that 2 weeks trial? I downloaded every single investor that I was in my bailiwick. It was as many people as I could. I downloaded them to a CSV. I took that CSV and I threw it in my Notion profile, or my Notion site here. So Notion fundraising. So here's all the people that I was going to contact. Then I used my AI to generate a thesis about every one of the companies. So what it did is it read its website and then it came up with the types of companies this place invests in, where their specialties are, what phase of the company they might be in. I had to generate that for every one of the funds in my list. I then had it take that thesis, and knowing what it knew about me and my startup, I had it give me a yes or no as to whether or not there was a potential of that person investing. So I had to give me yeses and nos all the way through the whole thing. So then I had a nice shortened list of all the companies that were potentials that I should even reach out. I didn't want to waste any time on anybody that was clearly in healthcare or something else that was not in my not for my startup at all. Then I took that and I did a similar thing to my sales list. I generated custom emails to everybody. Those I reviewed a lot more, and they were a lot more detailed, but I did have them initially generated by AI and sent those off to a bunch of people. I got responses from probably 90% of them. They all wrote me back one way or the other. Yeses or nos. Yeah, and they probably did. They had their own auto filter on the other side, writing those back. But then we ended up with a handful of meetings, ended up meeting with a bunch of people, so it really helped get the initial phone calls. Because again, like sales, fundraising is all about the people at the end of the day. And so I just needed to get on the phone with people so that I could tell them what my app was about, and then we took it out of the AI's hands at that point. That's pretty much it on fundraising. Any questions about fundraising?
I think that was brilliant.
What period of time over which did you do this?
This was a couple weeks. I mean, the fundraising this was the first couple weeks of getting phone calls and stuff rolling. Yeah. Fundraising took about 5 months.
Right, and I'm saying like Q1 22, Q1 22.
Last year, I started in August of last year, I started in July of last year, closed late November, early December.
Nice.
So, yeah.
And then at what stage were you at?
Pre-seed. I had no clients, and I did that. I had an MVP. Yep. I had an MVP and a beta customer that was not paying me, and a handful of users using the app. So, what's that? Yeah. It worked. Yeah.
Where did you get the initial data source from?
Crunchbase, free trial. So I went in.
No, I know, but how did you know to go there?
I was actually at a startup NV event, and they bragged about Crunchbase. I had heard of it. I knew what it was. They were like, oh, you can get all this data. I was like, all right, I'll try it. And I quickly hit the limitations of the free account. I said, what's this free trial? 2 weeks, unlimited access. Sweet, that's all I need. I can download a bunch of stuff in that time frame. And so I downloaded it all and then let it cancel. Because it's expensive. It's like $600, $700 a month or something like that. It's a pricey thing. So that's why I did that. Good return on it. Yeah, good return on it for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Thought about automating any of this?
Automating, like, what do you mean?
The sales process, the fundraising process.
I think about it all the time. So we're using Zapier to do a bunch of stuff. We're starting to get that integrated into workflows. I'll tell you more about my app in 1 second, but yeah. What's that?
You can cut LinkedIn out.
That's true. I could now, yeah, for sure. That was early days, so it was before there were GPTs and other things. It was probably even before the AI when I did that first LinkedIn scrape. So yeah, I probably could do the scrape with the AI now. All right, in the last few minutes, tape out record, real quick. This is not a sales pitch because none of you guys are my customers. So I'm just going to tell you how this actually works and how I think it was a cool thing we stumbled into. So like I said, I owned small business before, marketing and development agency, was kind of a developer. For the 10 years prior to that, I worked in a personal injury law firm. Went to law school for a year. I actually failed out of law school after 1 year, which was fun. So I moved back, didn't want to do law anymore, started my agency. But then 10 years later, COVID happens, everything changes. I owned Work in Progress, if you guys ever were there. We owned Work in Progress before COVID happened, and everything got flipped over. And so what was crazy about that time more than anything was we cut our team down from like 15 people to 4 people. It was a super unique time for marketing agencies. Was anybody in marketing during that time? Because with all the money they were pumping into small businesses and all the free time all these small businesses had, all of a sudden everybody wanted new websites and new marketing because they had the time on their hands and they needed customers more than ever. So we actually started making more money than we ever had. So with 4 people, we were making a ton of money, but everybody was remote. And I'm a people person. I loved working with my team of 15 people. I was in an office by myself most days. I was like, this isn't cool. I don't want to do this anymore. So I started looking around. Ended up bumping into my old boss at the law firm. We ended up talking. Ended up doing a huge research project. For the first 8 months of our business, I interviewed about 60 attorneys, personal injury attorneys, 20 different doctors that are in personal injury, another 15 to 20 people that were in car accidents. interviewing them, asking them. It was a problem hunting, we called it. Problem hunting, trying to find the problem we wanted to solve. Because I knew a ton about PI, and I could have built a lot of different things, but I didn't know what thing people actually wanted. And I was in one meeting, it was like the 50th meeting. I had 7 ideas that I'd kind of pitched to people over that time. They all got rejected for one reason or another. A lot of interesting rejections for why. Learned a ton through the process. And I was kind of at the end of my story. I was like, this sucks. I can't be told no one more time. And I'm in a meeting with an attorney, and the attorney says, hey, let me tell you about my favorite client. I was like, all right, tell me about your favorite client. You know, I knew I had favorite clients back in the day. That was one of the reasons I ended up liking the job, is because I ended up liking the people that I was helping so much. So I had favorite clients. So when he said that, I was like, yeah, tell me about your favorite client. He said, oh man, this client, he had a spreadsheet and he logged every appointment he went to, and he texted me before and texted me after his doctor's appointment, said, tell me what he did at the appointment. It was awesome. At the end of the meeting, he walked in with a spreadsheet, and the spreadsheet had everything I needed. All I did was took the spreadsheet and mailed it off to the insurance company, and they paid me for the case. It was great. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I'm thinking in my head, well, that's a little tricky. It looks like the door's locked. That's a little tricky for a lot of people to do, but with using technology, I could probably simplify that quite a bit and make it easier for more people to do it. And then I followed up with a question, well, tell me about your least favorite client. And he said, oh, they disappear, you can't find them, you can't message them, they don't go to their appointments, they ask a ton of questions, the same questions over and over again. And I'm thinking, all right, I can probably help with that as well. Now, mind you, this is all before ChatGPT. This is early 2022. ChatGPT came out in November of 2022. So this is pre-AI. I go back and I interview about 50 of the other people. Slide in, we got about 3 minutes. You're here for the finale. Welcome. So I go back and I re-interviewed a bunch of those other people and asked them the same 2 questions. Favorite client, least favorite client. Same patterns throughout the whole industry, right? I was like, all right, I can fix this. So my goal was to help clients be better clients in their doing the things that they're supposed to be doing. So we build this product, and then ChatGPT comes out. And the coolest part about it was, you guys know there's a bunch of different layers to AI. What's the bottom layer of a functional AI? Anybody guess what I'm going after here? What's the data, right? Somebody said the data. Without the data, you got nothing. Like, everything on AI is based on the data. And we just happen to build a product that's at the bottom of the food chain in the personal injury data, the client. They're the closest to the data source. And so when all this ChatGPT stuff came out, man, our eyes were lighting up, right? Like, we have everything we need. The clients are putting it right into our app, and that gets fed to the attorneys. And in that transition of all that learning that we're doing, we're able to improve the education that we're giving the clients because we're learning from what's happening in their case in real time, giving them feedback about things that they should be doing in real time. We're learning about what the other cases inside the firm, what the attorneys do on their cases in order to help the cases increase in value and increase in satisfaction for the clients. And we're able to reverse engineer that using the AI back into the clients' pockets. And so it ended up becoming a really good thing, and my whole reason for telling that story is if you're looking to do a startup in AI, a lot of people go right to the top of the food chain. I'm going to use AI to solve this problem that is out there, and it's going to be awesome. I'm going to build a GPT, and I'm going to build a whole business around it. But then what happens after that AI gets outdone by another AI, right? For me and my recommendation, if you're going to build something for AI, go for the data. That is where the money exists. If you can find the product that works on the data level, then you have a moat. You have a moat around your business, and you can't be overtaken as easily as others that are at the top of the food chain. So focus on the data. That's my last pitch about AI if you're looking to get into startups. Did you have one question back there, or are you good? You're good? So record, it's for personal injury attorneys. If you guys are in a car accident, come see me. I got lots of friends that are in personal injury. I won't make any money off it, but we'll definitely make sure you use our app. It's pretty slick. I think it helps cases.
I have a quick question about this data layer. Once you give it to ChatGPT, doesn't it become part of its data layer?
Not if you're on the right plans with the right restrictions. The organization ones have a data wall, so your stuff doesn't get passed into their stuff. Yeah.
GPT Enterprise now.
I think it's enterprise, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Also the API.
The API too, yeah.
Or the Teams one.
Yep, yeah. So if you're doing it with the API, which we are doing it with the API. Yeah.
I have a question.
Okay.
Can you start from the beginning?
Yeah, let's start over. Fire it up. Here we go. From the top.
All of the directions.
Yeah. We got a question back here, guys. Yeah.
So you said that you're using an API for this, is that correct?
Yeah.
So just curious, but day to day, how many tokens do you run up using that API? Have you found any ways to offset how many tokens are used by potentially adding in multiple sets of data into one prompt?
I do not have the answer to that, and that is a really good idea. And we do try to consolidate our requests as much as possible for that same reason. So we try to include as much data as we think it'll be able to handle and still give effective responses back.
I've been playing around with it.
Yeah.
And it can handle quite a bit of data, more than you would expect.
Huh.
It just saves on tokens. Like,
Yeah.
I think it was 1/5 of the tokens we were able to get it down to.
Oh, cool. Right on. Cool, yeah.
Just real quick on that point, one of the ways you can get your tokens down a lot is something we do a lot with structured databases, where you basically normalize the information. So you say, here's this value, it's X, here's this value, it's Y. So the total character count, and characters don't equal tokens, but kind of.
Yeah.
So if you have your character count, you're using individual characters as symbols for entire thoughts, functions, processes, references. You can put a lot more context at the beginning of it too, using less tokens, and also get much better output. So if you can structure your workflows with that API that way, and do like
Take it easy.
recoding and coding on the back end of it to interpret it, you can. But it's pretty cheap anyway. But yeah, they'll save you a little bit.
Likewise for batching requests and getting tabular results.
In theory, couldn't you just feed all of your data to GPT and have it do that for you, and then feed it to the API?
Yes. You tell it, and you start by saying, I have this problem. I want to use less tokens.
And it
it's
says,
like,
all right.
I'm sorry. Let me help you.
Cool. That's all I got. Thanks.
Way to go, man.
Yeah. Woo!